It began like any ordinary serene afternoon in the garden. The wind was still, the leaves only barely swayed, and somewhere under the distant hum of jazz, the silence hovered pregnant, wakeful, intimate. A father stood on the border of his mansion observing, not anticipating anything, not hoping anymore, just watching. But then, with one gaze, it all transformed. She was there, his daughter, out of her wheelchair, not alone, not standing, but held by a man he hardly knew, a youth, the driver, a stranger from a world way beyond his own. They moved in slow rhythm beneath the light that was leaving, and in that slow motion, something came to life. Not in the grass or the wind, but in her. The girl smiled. She laughed, and then she spoke the words that destroyed him. Daddy, I can feel the music. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here. Not like this. Following the accident, all of the experts had concurred she would never walk again. Her spinal injury was irreversible, the trauma too severe. He had done everything, embracing the best, importing the most brilliant minds, fitted out state of the art equipment. His wealth could purchase virtually everything, but not hope. That, it appeared, had been lost. Until today, what is it that makes us feel alive once more? Is it the miracle that costs millions or a second that sets us free for nothing? Can strangers fix things we believed only our own flesh could mend? And how come too often it's the people we least expect who deliver us to the place where we belong? This isn't a story of medical miracle or anything conventional. It's about something older, quieter, something that resides in music and dance. It's about a man who had it all except peace. A child who had lost all except a precarious shard of belief, and a driver with nothing to bring except himself. When Jordan showed up at the foster home, no one gave him much notice. Just another face on the roster, another uniform behind the wheel. He was courteous, reserved, respectful, perhaps even invisible. But Emily saw him. She observed the way he smiled when he greeted her, the way he knelt to her height, the way he addressed her like a person, not a project or a patient. She observed the way he never glanced at her wheelchair, merely at her eyes. He introduced her to music, soft rhythm, laughter. His tales brought heat like September sunshine. And on one afternoon, when shadows lengthened across the lawn, he posed a simple question that would alter everything. May I play something for you? Princess, what then ensued was not boisterous, not theatrical, simply two hearts gliding softly as one lifting the other, and in that, dance only a few steps, only a few. Moments her body jerked, her toes answered, her soul stirred. Suddenly, impossibility didn't seem so fixed anymore, but naturally. Nothing concealed remains concealed for very long. Her father noticed, and what started out as confrontation became something much deeper. What would you do if someone without credentials or authority did what the greatest minds in the world couldn't? Would you trust them, question them, ringak them, or would you pause, take a breath, and at last look at them? This is a tale of trust, how easily it breaks, how painstakingly it's built. It's a tale of healing, not a doctor's definition, but something each of us secretly craves. It's a tale of love not always appearing as you thought it would, and that sometimes the miracle isn't healing, it's a bond. By then, the world would be watching, the world would be applauding, but the moment that counted most went unnoticed. It did not go viral, it didn't make headlines. It was the one where a small girl made a solitary step, shaky, shaking, and authentic, and gazed up at her father with starry eyes, whispering again, with every ounce of strength she had left, Daddy, I can feel the music again, so settle in, because this isn't only a story about a dance. And then it's a story about what gets us moving when we thought we'd moved on forever. Now let's rewind to when a young driver crossed a billionaire's lawn and unwittingly strolled into the midst of a mourning family. Daddy, my toes moved. I felt the music. The words struck billionaire Raymond Foster like a blow to the chest, leaving him dead in his tracks at the patio edge of the backyard. He wasn't ready for what he was seeing, not by a long shot. His 9-year-old daughter, Emily, the same girl who had been paralyzed from the waist down for more than a year following a horrific car crash, was laughing and smiling and slowly dancing around in the arms of their new driver, a young black man named Jordan, whom Raymond hardly knew at all. Lever chair lay abandoned and motionless beside the garden path as Jordan walked with her slowly, cautiously, his arms firmly around her. Diminutive form swaying to the soft music issuing from an unseen speaker. Sunlight filtered through the trees and cast golden stripes across the grass. And Emily's flower-patterned dress danced with every movement like a butterfly in flight. Raymond's breath was caught in his throat. He squinted hard, sure he had to be dreaming. He'd stepped outside anticipating finding Emily sleeping or gazing at birds, perhaps reading one of her wordless picture books. Not this. Not this miracle. For months, she had withdrawn, speaking seldom, smiling hardly at all, her spark lost somewhere between hospital beds, physical therapy sessions, and the crushing weight of her father's shattered heart. He had spent millions on her. World-class doctors, specialists in neurology, imported machinery, everything. But never had she lifted those legs. Never had she indicated she felt anything. And now, out of the blue, here she was, eyes sparkling, face radiating, laughing like she had been before, and screaming that she felt music in her toes. The sound of it shattered something inside Raymond. And in that instant, he had not the slightest notion how much this still backyard, moment this stranger's tender dance with his child, would unravel everything he believed he knew about healing family and love. Jordan Miles had been with the foster family a mere 7 days, but in those quiet mornings and long afternoons of golden light, he had become something much more than a driver to one small girl. When he first appeared, he was almost invisible, a borrowed, slightly too large suit on his shoulders. Shoes shined but frayed at the edges, a shy smile on his lips and respectful quiet in his tone. The agency had sent him as a stopgap replacement for their full-time chauffeur, who had come down with something and would be out for a few weeks. Raymond Foster hardly looked at him when he transferred the pickup. To the billionaire, Jordan was just another entry on the schedule, reliable transportation, nothing more. But Emily saw something else. While adults came and went in cold white coats, always speaking around her, never to her, Jordan knelt down the first time they met and introduced himself with a grin. "Hi, princess. I'm Jordan. I've got a driver's license and a serious addiction to good music. You think we'll get along?" She didn't smile at first. She rarely did anymore, but she didn't turn away either. From that moment on, he refused to treat her like a patient. He didn't see a diagnosis or a medical chart. He saw a little girl with a tired soul. Each morning, he'd greet her with a cheerful "Good morning, sunshine," and inquire if she was ready to listen to today's vibe song before breakfast. He'd push her wheelchair through the gardens, playing quiet tunes on his speaker, humming and tapping light beats on the handles. When she inquired further, he replied. She couldn't. He supplied the quiet spaces with tales of his neighborhood, of having almost nothing but never a lack of love, of getting into community dance lessons, and above all, of his little sister Maya, who was born with a condition that confined her to a wheelchair for her whole short life. She said to me, "The world forgot about me," he whispered once when he thought no one was around. But I never made her feel that way. Undefined never. Emily did overhear him. Undefined, and for the first time in months. She smiled. It began with a beat, gentle, far away, almost like a whisper to the soul. A sunny afternoon, lazy as they came, with golden light streaming through the branches and birds singing above the still garden, and Jordan glanced over at Emily sitting silently in her wheelchair under the shelter of the old oak tree. Her eyes were lost in the clouds, far away, the way they so often were, but something in his heart was moved, something warm and obstinate. "May I play something for you, princessum?" he inquired, getting out his little Bluetooth speaker with a wink. She did not speak, but she nodded, just a little. He scrolled through his phone, choosing a song, and before long the honey, smooth, languid notes of a smooth jazz song drifted into the room. Not loud, but emotional. The kind of song that could slide around your chest and tug on what you didn't know you were feeling. Jordan drummed his fingers against his knee to the beat, then smiled at her playfully. "You trust me?" he asked gently, extending his hand. She blinked. Her arms were thin, her legs motionless, her spirit bruised from too many doctors saying no, never, not possible. But in that moment, something else inside her answered, not her body, but her heart. She slowly reached out. Jordan glided like glass, sweeping her up from the chair with strength and tenderness. One arm under her back, the other around her legs. He didn't swing her. He didn't rush her. He just swayed, a slow, easy dance, the two of them enveloped by wind, melody, and hope. And then something changed. When the rhythm intensified, Emily gasped. Her right foot twitched. Not a spasm, not a dream, an actual tangible movement. Her eyes went wide. "Did you feel that?" she whispered in awe, panting. Jordan stared down, awestruck, then smiled. "I did." Thereafter, it was their secret ritual. Every afternoon, after the world had stilled and no one was looking, Jordan would lift her up gently and they'd dance. No doctors. No diagnoses, just music, hope, and healing in motion until one day her father saw it all. Raymond charged across the well, manicured lawn like a thunderstorm, his breath cold, fists balled, every step weighted with panic and incredulity. He had only ventured outside to answer a call, a brief respite from yet another draining business negotiation. But what he witnessed defied all reason. His daughter was in the driver's arms, not folded beside him, not wheeled about safely, no. She was in his arms, picked up from her chair, her head tilted against his shoulder as they moved in a slow, gentle dance. The soft music that had been playing from a speaker was still resonating through the garden when Raymond's voice sliced through. "What are you doing with my daughter?" Growled, the words cutting through the air like lightning. Emily winced and tightened her hold on Jordan's neck, her voice shaking as she wept. "Daddy, don't. He didn't hurt me. He helped me." Raymond's eyes flashed, not merely with rage, but fear, bewilderment, and the despair only a bereaved father understands. His thoughts whirled with visions of lawsuits, scandal, damage, but Jordan did not stir. He did not recoil or step back. He merely returned Raymond's stare with level, unblinking eyes. "Sir," he murmured calmly yet firmly, "I understand how this would appear, but on my honor, I would never betray your trust. All I have done is attempt to make her happy, to remind her that she's more than her injury." Raymond moved a step forward, his voice growing louder. "You had no right," but then, before he could say anything else, Emily's voice cut in. "Fine but sharp, Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling. I felt my legs. I felt my toes. Jordan made me believe again." Her lower lip quivered, her eyes glassy but full of light, and for the first time in nearly a year, Raymond noticed something he hadn't noticed, not in the doctor's reports, not in therapy progress sheets, not even in his own desperate prayers. He noticed life in her. Her cheeks weren't pale anymore. Her eyes weren't hollow. She was awake, radiant, alive. Something within him broke. The strength left his legs as he stumbled back and sank slowly onto a garden bench, his voice barely a whisper. "I've hired the best doctors, spent millions on treatments, flown specialists in from all over the world." He paused, eyes locked on Jordan, who still held his daughter like she was sacred. "And you," he panted, incredulity melting into wonder, "you danced. That night, as the sun dropped below the hills and bathed the Foster estate in a warm orange light, something that was not supposed to happen, almost not possible, occurred." With Raymond's tacit consent and Emily's snickering approval, Jordan posted a 45-second clip to social media, a simple video of himself slowly dancing with the little girl, the garden swaying around them, the speaker playing gentle jazz, her little arms wrapped around his neck. Her foot visibly twitching in time. He didn't post filters, no glitzy edits, just stark, honest beauty. The caption was, "Sometimes healing begins with music, not medicine. Pound hope in movies this in hours." The post went viral. The comments first. Thousands of strangers, parents, therapists, and survivors posting hearts, prayers, and accounts of their own struggles. Then the retweets. Then the headlines. News media covered it. "Billionaire's paralyzed daughter finds hope through dance." "The power of presence. How a black driver helped a little girl walk again." Celebrities Ray posted it. Physicians contacted him. Universities called Raymond with new therapy trials. But above the hype and the headlines, something profound occurred. Individuals all over the globe witnessed something extraordinary and lovely. A second of love, faith, and healing that bridged every barrier. They viewed a black man not demarcated by his occupation or his history, but by the empathy in his soul. They saw a little girl learning anew to live, and they saw a billionaire father mended, transformed. But the greatest surprise of all arrived unobtrusively off camera. Raymond asked Jordan into his study the following morning, offered him his hand, and spoke words Jordan never thought he'd ever hear. "I want you here, not as a driver, but as part of our family from then on." Jordan is Emily's full-time emotional support mentor, therapy partner, and the big brother she never had. But that wasn't all. Raymond was inspired by Jordan's anecdote about his sister Maya and started the Miles of Hope Foundation, a charity in Maya's name that sponsors care, therapy, and artistic assistance for disabled kids in disadvantaged communities. Emily, she walks slowly, haltingly, in braces and with assistance, but she walks. Every supported step is a miracle, every movement a memory rewritten. And with each step her foot touches the earth, she glances at her dad with shining tear-filled eyes and utters the exact same 7 words that began it all. "Daddy, I can feel the music again." Sometimes healing doesn't happen through hospitals, money, or world-class experts. It doesn't always present itself wrapped in science, attired in white coats, or supported by a billion-dollar name. Sometimes healing is quiet, in the guise of kindness, music, and someone who can look beyond the hurt to the person still inside. Jordan didn't hold an impressive title. He didn't have at his disposal the finest equipment or a medical degree. What he possessed was something even more precious: empathy. The type that listens without judgment, appears when no one else does, holds shattered pieces with kindness and whispers, "You still matter." In an instant, with a simple gesture, a slow dance under the stars, he granted Emily something no therapy ever could. Belief. Belief that she wasn't forgotten. Belief that her body could feel again. Belief that she was more than her diagnosis. And perhaps even more deeply, he reminded a mourning father that sometimes the strongest healing comes not from attempting to remedy all, but from being present, from being human. In a world that is so quick to view differences suspiciously, this tale reminds us of what truly matters: connection, trust, and love that looks beyond all bound. A little girl danced again, a man found meaning, a father discovered faith, and it didn't take a miracle, just music, empathy, and an open heart willing to give it a shot, undefined, because love doesn't always knock. Undefined, it doesn't always ask permission or wait for a perfect moment. Nays the knave does nays the knave does knave the knave the nays the knave 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 the nays the knave 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 the knave. Sometimes it shows up in the most unexpected way. Define property, sometimes it dances in.